Hi, I'm Peter, a product expert here at Upkeep. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to data import work orders within Upkeep. So looking at our agenda today, I'll provide a quick overview and finally a demonstration so that you can get started importing right away for your team. Okay, first, let's look at overview. Now with work orders, you have the ability to import new work orders. You can export out any current work order data. And most recently, you have the option now to update currently existing work orders. And the CSV limit to importing these from a spreadsheet would be 20,000. Okay, so let me provide a demonstration so we can get this all moving along. All right, so when you're first logged in, the work orders list view is the first thing you'll see. Now, when you want to import new work orders, click on these three dots right here, and then click here where it says import in the dropdown. And then from here, you can click where it says download to download a sample work order CSV file. And once you do so, it will look something like this. Let's pull it up for you. Okay, so here is my work order CSV file. So from here, row 1 is your work order title columns. This is always the default consistent titles. You don't want to change these, change the wording or move the columns around, or it's going to cause an import error. And then row 2 is usually where there's sample data. In this presentation, I've removed that for you. But once you're importing work orders, just always make sure if you have sample data in row 2 to take that out. And this is an example of a recurring work order that I'm going to import, titled Monthly Fish Tank Inspection. All right, so there are a few columns that's important to note. So I'll go over what these mean. So some of those ones are first, work order number. What this is the work order number you want to assign to the work order. Let's say you already have, some in your app and you're not sure exactly what the current number is to make sure it's all sequential. Then what you want to do is you want to go here in the settings section. And once I click there, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see right now I'm at 2. So if I create this new one, that work order number will be 3. But I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 1. And that's how you go ahead and change that. And then moving on for column B, when you put in a due date, it would be in a date and time format, and the dates are set in the future. And then moving on, let's go to column I. This is where you put a category. An important thing to note is that whenever you put in a category, an existing category has to be there. So you can't put any new ones if it's not already within Upkeep. So just to double check you have those existing categories, within the app, go to the categories tab. And then from here, the section for work orders, just make sure you're using any of the ones here. If you don't see it here, you can just go ahead and quickly create the category of your choice. All right, so reschedule based on completion. This one, you would put either a yes or a no. And this essentially means if you want your next work order to be scheduled based on when the previous recurring work order was completed. If not, and you want it to be regularly occurring, then you would just leave it blank. So an example, if I put yes on this, would be I have a recurring work order that's supposed to occur every month, starting from January 1st to February 1st to March 1st, so on and so forth. But let's say the one on January 1st was actually completed on January 5th. So what that means is the next one will be scheduled on February 5th instead of that January 1st, February 1st schedule. So if I want that, then I put yes here. Moving on, things like asset ID, location ID, these things, anything that has an ID means that data has to exist within the app first. If you have an asset attached that already has a location, you can honestly just leave this blank because the location will automatically be assigned. if you put an asset with an attached location to it. And then after that, if you go to column T, this is also a yes or a no you can input. If you want your work orders to be active, just in the public view, you would put a yes. If you want them archived, meaning just hidden, you would put a no. And then the last two columns that are important is if you want, things like a checklist, make sure you put in the checklist ID here. And then let me show you that really quick, how to find your checklist already within the app that have IDs. So click settings and then click the checklist section. So I want to make sure that fish tank inspection, that's the checklist in there. Then I would just make sure to go to the search bar, the URL, and then click on the 10 characters. This is the ID, this highlighted section right here. It's after the /. And then also, let's say I want to make sure I have a file added into this work order I'm importing in column AA. So the files ID, kind of similar to where we found, our categories. It has its own tab right here. Click on where it says files. And the good thing about this is you don't have to click into it. It has its own ID column. So you can find the ones you need and just copy and paste them over to the CSV file. All right, so that in a nutshell is data importing for work orders. Let's go ahead and save this and import my recurring work order. All right, so same thing, click on the 3 dots, click on import. This time, click on this blue box that says choose file. I'm gonna select the one that says work orders import. And then click import work order again, select import. Perfect, so that lets me know that it's been successful. Now let's go back. And then you can see now that recurring work order for monthly fish tank maintenance is added in there. Let's go ahead and click into the details just to see that everything else was inputted correctly. All right, so I have a due date. It's in a recurring 1-month schedule. I got everything perfectly the way I want. I got my technician, location asset. I got that checklist I was talking about, even that attached file. And then one thing to note is anytime you put an estimated time, so let's say you think it's gonna take 2 hours, it's gonna show you an estimated end time here, 2 hours from your due date. So that's also to keep in mind as well. All right, so that is importing work orders. Let me show you now one of our newer features with this, where you can update work orders now. So what I want to do here is, let's say I want to update the due dates for these current work orders. Currently, at the moment, you can update reactive work orders, meaning one-time work orders, but not regularly recurring ones, kind of like the one I created for monthly fish tank. So first, let's make sure that we're filtering this to just reactive only. And then let's go here. Let's click to export to CSV now. All right, so you do have the option of exporting all columns. You can export certain columns as well. Whenever you're doing this updates function, you always have to make sure that the work order title and the priority columns are selected. And then everything else, let's say due date, that's the one I want to update. That and any other ones, you can go ahead and select those. But rule of thumb, work order title, priority always has to be selected. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and select export. I'm gonna download the file. And while that's downloading, let me just click out of this because we're done with this import work order. Can exit out of that. Okay, so let's look at this one right here. All right, so these work orders have a due date of June 20th, but let's say I want to change all those to May 20th instead. Okay, So once I make those changes, I'm gonna save that. And I'm gonna save that really quick so it's in my desktop view. And then now what I'll do is when I click on the three dots, I'm gonna click on import now. And then I'm gonna press choose file. And I'm gonna choose that work order update CSV file I made. I'm gonna click import work order, click import again. And once those changes are made, looks like I got the green light that it's all successful. So let's see how this looks like now. So before, the due date was on June 20th. Now all the reflected changes on the CSV file has been made. So now it's on May 20th. So this is perfect if you have to mass update a lot of work orders at once. All right, another thing to note is that when you're importing or updating work orders, let's say you were maybe off by one column, you inputted something incorrectly. The good thing to know is that when you go to import history, you can take a look at all the work orders that you tried to import, and the ones that did not go through, like for instance, this one here that said failed, you can just go to this failed rows column, click on the number, and it'll tell you exactly what the error was. So this is really helpful in knowing what you have to fix, especially when you're importing or updating a lot of data at once. And then finally, let's click on the back arrow. I can export my CSV files as well. And then you have the ability to export all your work orders, including the complete or archived ones, or just the ones from your filtered view. Like we discussed in the updates part, you can select all columns or maybe just a few of them. So once you do that, all you just do is click export and press download file, and you'll be able to see that. So this is my update CSV file. Let's get rid of that one. And this is my export CSV file. It has a little bit more columns. So yeah, that is importing, updating, exporting work orders. What's really important to know is some people, when they're trying to import new work orders, just make sure you're always going to these correct sections. So I wouldn't want to go to export to CSV and use this file when I'm trying to import new ones. So just be aware and go to the correct sections. All right, so that is a rundown on data importing for work orders. Definitely, if you have any questions or feedback, let us know. But I hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.